Hi, everybody. Welcome to Breakfast All Day. Matt and Christy are here. They've seen Misbehaviour. I'm Alonso, and I have not because, well, go to TheWrap. I've been covering movies out of the New York Film Festival all week, so, cut me some slack. Anyway, they're going to tell us all about it.
We will cut you no slack, Mr. Duralde.
Yeah.
Not at all. All right, so Misbehaviour is telling a couple of different stories. It's all centered around the 1970 Miss World pageant in London, and kind of the premier beauty pageant. And one story focuses on Kiera Knightley playing Sally Alexander. She has gone to university. She's working towards getting an advanced degree, and she falls in with a younger group of feminists who are much more likely to be rabble-rousers than she is, whereas Alexander wants a seat at the table. These younger kids pretty much want to just burn the table down. Then we also get to follow Jennifer Hostin, who is Miss Grenada, who went on to win, spoiler alert, but you can't really spoil history, becoming the first Black woman to win Miss World. And we see kind of her experience. And then we see Bob Hope, as played by Greg Kinnear, who is kind of gotten a part partially hosting the show. And, the show needs him to bring some star power. He hasn't been there in about 9 years, partly because Dolores, his wife, wouldn't let him because in 61, he brought one of the girls home. And so we kind of see these three stories go on, and the climax of the movie shows the feminist group that Sally Alexander is part of throwing flower bombs on the stage and using squirt guns and rattlers and noisemakers and putting up banners and really disrupting the proceedings in the middle of this live show, and how that was as historic as Miss Grenada's win. This is directed by Philippa Lowthorpe. It's based on historic events, and a lot of these folks are still alive. And I thought this movie was a lot of fun, and I like this.
Who plays Jennifer Hostin, Matt?
Oh, sorry. Jennifer Hostin is played by Gugu and Mbatha-Raw. And I thought this was terrific. I really like this. I wish that it would have focused a little bit more on some of the stuff in the pageant, I think. I think that gets a little bit short shrift here. But it moves along. It's, I think part of why I like this so much is, having just watched Mrs. America, this kind of fits right in at that same time period and kind of that same mindset. But I thought everybody's pretty good in this, and it's pretty fun, and it's breezy, and it's fun to watch Rhys Evans play kind of a more authoritative character rather than like the troublemaker he's often been. But yeah, I like this. What do you guys think?
Well, the line I've been saying is that it's like Miss Congeniality meets Mrs. America, because it is that. It's like going inside the pageant and showing you the absurdity, like the humor, like the good-natured humor, but also the absurdity of it. But also the fact that this was taking place at a time of great upheaval. Yeah, I did not know any of this. Did you know any of this beforehand, Matt?
No.
I had never heard of any of this. Yeah. So it is a very specific kind of safely humorous British comedy, though, right? I mean, the one complaint I have about this, because it does have very meaty, weighty issues on its mind in terms of women's rights and a time of, great upheaval and tumultuousness worldwide, I wish it had been a little deeper, but it's so eager to please. It's so eager to be light and breezy, as you say, that it's playful in the way that it depicts the rampant sexism and the misogyny and just, the way things have always been, even from Bob Hope's behavior and some of his jokes. The movie begins with him in Vietnam with the previous year's Miss World, the reigning Miss World. And just like the jokes they're so hacky and so sexist and seem so archaic at this point, and they're meant to clang. And the way that the announcer for the pageant is like drooling over all of these women. And there's a moment where you have like the 10 finalists in their swimwear. And it's not enough that they're like parading around in their bathing suits and their heels. Like they all have to turn in unison and just like show their asses to the camera and to the audience. And they just stand there like that while everyone's just gawking at their asses. And what's amazing is that back then this was considered really wholesome family entertainment. One of the internal conflicts going on with Keira Knightley's character, and she's a single mom, she is divorced, and her own mother, who watches her little girl, is still very traditional in her ideas about gender roles, and is getting the daughter, dressed up in like lipstick with like a little purse and heels to play dress up, and they're all excited about the Miss World pageant because it's a fun thing they can all do together. So it's got some ideas on its mind about women's role in the world, but again, doesn't really want too much conflict. It still wants to be like, oh, it was a fun time.
How does it loop the racial issues in?
Well, so that's one of the interesting things, is that this is a movie where I think the meatiest part of it is Sally Alexander's story. Like that gets the most coverage, and that's the one where she kind of pivots from wanting the seat at the table to finally like throwing in with the more rowdier, more kind of radical feminists. I mean, radical is sure at that point. And you see her kind of like, yeah, okay, we need to work harder and be more, be louder. Right. And I think that story gets covered relatively well, but it gives, and what is fascinating about what happens at this is there are these three intersecting fascinating pieces, right? The other one is Bob Hope coming back after, and like, having dug into this, like, holy shit, Bob Hope was a womanizer. Like, as it turns out, the Miss 61 he had taken home, like, he set up like in an apartment and was going to get her roles in movies and was like his side hustle for years.
I should mention that Leslie Manville plays his wife Dolores, and she's
so withering. Good in this.
She's so good, so subtle, yeah.
And Kinnear does a good job of like showing us Hope as this guy who is on the surface friendly and is clearly like coasting on who he is, but we get to see like, man, this guy's a prick, right? Like, and it all comes off with charm. Like, one of his writers gives him a joke early on, like on the plane. He's like, the point is these are supposed to be funny. And there's like this really passive aggressive side to him. Like you could have a whole separate movie about, the reality of Bob Hope versus the persona that America believed in past the time he died. But then, and this is where, when I go back to like why I want to see more of the pageant, like the story that really gets short shrift here is the story of Miss Grenada. Like, because South Africa sent two women because at this point, there's some anti-apartheid feelings going on in Britain, and they tell the organizers, hey, you guys should not let South Africa come. And the organizers of the event try and like split the difference and make everyone happy. Like, we'll have them send two. And then what they call Africa South ends up taking second place. Mm-hmm. Right. But then we see
a black contestant.
Right. Yeah. The black contestant takes second place. Pearl Jansen was her name. Jansen isn't given, and we get a little bit of like Jansen's clearly been, she says she's been told that she can't say anything about apartheid or the regime, or she can't come home. We don't get a lot of, why did Miss Grenada win? There was some scandal after that. Miss Sweden complained in real life, and what were the judges looking at? And so a lot of it, like that whole, what made the judges pivot, and for the first time in this pageant's history, give it to a black woman. We don't really get any of that, and that's where it's a little frustrating, right? But it's a good entry point. And for what it's setting out to do and capture a feeling of a moment in time, I think it does that. I also want to say the costumes in this movie are amazeballs.
And Jessie Buckley is just a blast to watch her no matter what she's in. She's got everything in her, every kind of role in her. And there's such an accessibility to her. There's such a naturalism to her that no matter what role she's in, like you just can't stop watching her. And there's just this instant connection on screen. She's great. So yeah, I'm saying 7. It's fun. I learned stuff.
Yeah, I give it an 8. It's does what it says in the box, mostly.
So 7.5 is our number, and I believe this is streaming.
Yes, I believe it is.
I think so, yes.
Okay. We'll go find it.
Awesome. Yes, by all means. And it's Misbehaviour, right? It's O-U-R. Yes. That's how they, so for you Americans, we don't go with that extra U. I'll throw one in. At no extra cost. Thanks for watching. Like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us at BeFastAllDay on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and do check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. We're exclusively for our subscribers right now recapping HBO's Lovecraft Country and The Vow, and we've got our monthly Off the Menu, where our subscribers get to vote on a classic for us to review, and in honor of the late Dame Diana Rigg, we'll be talking about the 007 adventure on Her Majesty's Secret Service. So check that out and much more at our Patreon page. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good week. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.